What I want to talk about now is an important topic which you probably read about at the weekend, which is affecting a lot of people, and it's leasehold changes. Now let's give this a title, and I'm going to call this Leasehold Changes because I can't really think of a better title than that, which makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Leasehold Changes. So I want to talk about what's going on here in the world of leasehold and freehold. Now, we're talking here about English and Welsh law, land law, but in Scotland they also have leasehold. They have a slightly different law up there. It's slightly better actually when it comes to owning flats and apartments. But the government announced recently that they're changing the leasehold system with effect for March 22. So, if you're doing your exams now, you don't need to worry too much about this. But as I always say to people, we teach you to become a mortgage advisor, a really good one, to a damn good mortgage advisor, not just to pass exams. Anybody can teach you to pass exams, or not everybody. So you do need to know the changes that come in, because people will ask you. Even if you're not qualified, you'll be at a dinner party once you're allowed to have those things. And somebody will say to you, I heard about the leasehold changes. What do you know about that? You're learning to be a mortgage advisor. If you say, well, I don't know, it's not in the CMAP textbook, then you'll be a right old plonker, won't you? So you've got to be able to understand these things and give the right information. So they're changing it, March 22. And in my opinion, about time too, because leasehold is a very old-fashioned system. It goes back to the Crusades. Not a lot of people know this, when the barons, of course, owned all the land, and the barons all headed off to the Middle East to fight the baddies, and they left the land for like years, because it took a while to get over there in those days and get back, because many of them died. So they wanted to hold on to the land and therefore created leaseholds, which meant that people owned the land for a period of time, and after that period of time the land went back to the owner, the barons. It's feudal, it's really old-fashioned. Apparently 1 in 5 homes in the UK still has it. Now thankfully, of course, freehold houses, or new ones, or leasehold houses I should say, were abolished 2019. So you can't now set up a house, a detached house, semi-detached house, as leasehold. So what are they then? Well, as we know, because we've studied this before, or you may not have studied if you don't, we're talking here about apartments, effectively. We're talking about flats and apartments. So here we have a high-rise block here for you. And these apartments or flats or whatever are owned as a leasehold. You own them for a period of time. They're not yours forever. The freehold effectively is owned by somebody. So let's put the freehold. The freehold is generally the land that's underneath the block itself. But it's actually a bit more than that. The freeholder is either a person or they are an investment institution. Many builders now, what they do is they build these apartments, they sell the freeholds onto investment companies. And you can buy funds now that invest in freeholds of apartments. There's one in Cheltenham they're building now. And the builder there has sold the freehold to an investment company and make a bit of money from it, a bit of cash, a bit of wonga, which is what building companies do. Now, you own the leasehold, which means that you own it for a number of years. So it could be, for example, 99 years. So most people's lives don't extend beyond that. Therefore, you pretty much see this as quite secure. Now, because you own the lease, it's yours to keep and live in there and do what you like to a degree. But there is a leasehold document. The lease document itself tells you what you can and can't do. And this leasehold document requires that you make payments. So you have to make some money. You have to make a maintenance charge. Maintenance, let's put that in there for you. A maintenance charge of, say, £100 per month, which you have to pay into a pot. And there's a maintenance committee usually that looks after that. And this maintenance charge pays for the insurance of the block, plus all the grounds being tarmacked and looked after, and the grounds being cut, and then everything being hoovered and cleaned, and outside maintained, the roof fixed, etc. All the common parts get fixed and looked after by the maintenance charge. There's also a ground rent. This is the one that's causing the problems. The ground rent, in most situations, is a peppercorn, which comes from the Baron days. So it's a couple of quid. It's not much, £10 maybe a year. It's tiny amounts of money. But it's the ground rent, you see, that goes to the owner of the freeholder. This is why these investment companies love this deal, because they own all these freeholds. They receive these ground rents every month or every year, guaranteed money. Now, the new homes builders were quite clever, so therefore they put these ground rents in, but they made them escalate every sort of 5 years, 10 years, double. So these ground rents became quite a lot of money. And over 99 years, the ground rent itself was going to escalate out of control. Government got wind of that and stopped that straight away. That's unethical, in my opinion. Those new build companies were unethical doing this because most people didn't understand it. Personally, I think the lawyers should have explained it, but there we go. That's another story. So that's the situation then that we've got. There are changes available. People can change this stuff. Under the Leasehold Reform Act 2002, people have the ability to improve their lot. So say, for example, somebody decides to buy this flat here at the top, which is flat 5B or whatever. And this has got a lease, say, of 70 years remaining. And they've got to pay a ground rent as well. The owner of that flat can actually do stuff to it. Now, they can extend the lease and or buy the freehold. This has always been available. Now, they can do it voluntarily and doing a deal with the freeholder. They can do what they like. But under the law, they can demand to have that lease extended. Now, the law allows you to add another 90 years and buy the freehold. In other words, you become the owner of the block, which gives you control, of course. You're still a leaseholder and you still have to have this lease, so you can have another 90 years. But there was all sorts of restrictions to that, still are, of course. You know, for example, it has to be more than 2 flats, so it has to be a decent sized block. It can't be a sort of a Victorian conversion or something like that. Also, it has to be for a minimum of 21 years, so the lease had to have been set up for 21 years in the first place. That was another ruling as well. 25% of the block can't be more commercial. So, you know, if you've got a lot of commercial in here, you can't exercise your rights because it's a commercial block. 25% was the ruling of the floor space. 50% of everybody who lives there, owns the flat, has to be in agreement for the freehold to be bought. So there was lots of restrictions. And of course there was costs involved as well. You had to negotiate a cost, but there was this thing called marriage value, still is, whereby they worked out the increase in the value of your ownership by having these extensions and purchases done. And they took a slice of that as well. So the freeholder was making a mint. It was costing a fortune to buy the freehold. And that's all going to change. And here are the changes. Let's get ourselves a different colour. What the government are looking to do is a number of things really, which I think is good news all around. First of all, they're looking for you to increase it by up to 990 years. Now that's more like it, isn't it? You know, that's several people's lifetimes, isn't it? So, you know, that pretty much means you own it forever, doesn't it? So that's the first thing they're looking to do. And they're going to put an online calculator where you can work out exactly how much it's going to cost you. And there's not going to be any marriage value connections or anything like that. It's going to be a straightforward cost as well. There'll be other things they're going to be bringing in, but they're going to be cleaning this up nicely. Ultimately, what they need to do, though, is to get rid of leasehold all told. And that's the hard part. You see, builders and lenders, let's get rid of some of this information. Builders and lenders don't like change. Lenders don't like change, never have done. Traditional building societies and banks don't like change. So this system of flats and leasehold flats and freehold works really well. They like it. It kind of works. It's easy, they can repossess. The builders love it, they get this extra bit of money. So trying to get them to change to common hold, there you go, is the secret to it all. Common hold's been around for a while now, over 20 years now. Common hold is a combination of freehold and leasehold joined together. The flats are owned as common hold. There's no lease, there's no ground rent, so there's no leasehold, there's no freeholder, there's no ground rent to pay. There's nothing like that. You own this block forever. It's yours. You have to contribute towards maintaining the common parts. There's an association or a limited company that you join or become a shareholder of. You have to maintain the common parts. It's fine. Get it all insured. But you own it forever. And you think, well, actually, it's a pretty darn good deal. And it is. So the government needs to encourage that. Two people they need to convince are the builders and the lenders. Once they convince those two bodies, new blocks will be built on a common hold basis, and they jolly well should as well. You know, it's just the right thing to do. But everyone's got their little interests, haven't they? You know, a bit of money here, a bit of money there. So common hold's the way forward. Get out ground rents completely might be an answer. We'll have leasehold, but get rid of ground rents. They're the problems as well. So that's the leasehold changes that are coming down the line for you to enjoy. That's been useful. Bye.